that wasn't good, was it? That was the worst defensive performance I've seen from a City side probably since Leicester, maybe 2020 or the 16-17 season. Basically just Leicester. That was bad. City have just been humiliated 4-1 by Sporting in a humbling, if we're being honest, a total humbling. That is very emotional. I've seen lots of people flying around, insulting each other on Twitter, of course. It gets very personal when City lose and everyone goes, everyone, for having the takes that they disagree with. Which is always the way, of course. But I'm going to try and keep this sort of rational and reasonable while not painting a pretty picture, but also try looking at every single possible angle. I'll cut to the chase. That was defensively awful. If we're being honest, the first half was actually pretty decent footballing-wise. Played some nice football, missed our chances, of course. Therefore, it ended 1-1. Didn't take any chances in the first half. Should have been 3-0 up at half-time. Ended at 1-0, typical Man City. And then the implosion happened. The second half defensively, absolutely diabolical. A total failure, an abject failure from the senior players to protect Simpson Pusey, if we're being honest, in the back line. Really poor defending. No defensive nous, no understanding, no composure, no diligence, no leadership in that team. And then just head loss, 2 very soft penalties. Vardial, Nunes, 2 players banging form at the moment, if we're being honest. 2 of our most informed players, both doing mind-numbingly stupid things to give away very soft penalties, inexcusable levels of nonsense. And look, and people are going to start lashing out, I reckon. They will do. I've already seen it on social media, whatever. But once again, like, this isn't anyone's fault other than the people down the pitch. Don't blame the fans individually. It was either way. The performance was it was poor, and it's inexcusably poor. It is and for many reasons. You could try and get to the crux of it. And look, people are entitled to have their opinions change and evolve over time. And people are right to say, look, this could be different without Rodri, De Bruyne, fit Diaz, Stones, a fit Grealish, a fit Oscar Bob, blah blah blah. They're right to say that. I get it, but at the same time, we can't sit here and be this abject for this many games in a row. And since the start of the season, if we're being honest, maybe since last season, there's been a really, it's been unraveling big time. This gift that we keep giving opposition teams. There is no possible excuse for it. There isn't. We are so bad on transition that it feels like it requires a drastic change. And to sit there and see what feels like nothing changing, really, like the one-on-one turnovers, like the way that we're ran past so often in midfield is frightening. I am not trying to tell Guardiola how to do his job. I am merely just commenting on what I see as a fan, and you guys see it too. We are so poor defensively. We are so poor going the other way. Thank you so much to Mark for the super chat. Massively appreciate it. Mark said, we're in a tough spot in the minute, so important we get behind the boys as much as possible and trust Pep will sort this out. He's earned at least that from us after years of success. Mark, I would never disagree with that. Mark is absolutely right. Mark's not a happy clapper there. We are in a tough spot, and I will always get behind the team. I will always trust them, and I'll always give faith in Pep to trust it out. But there is absolutely no harm, I would argue, in calling a spade a spade and just highlighting, if not discussing, the current issues at play. I don't want to sit here and pretend everything's perfect and rosy, because it isn't. We are very much in a tough spot. These players have 1 billion%, and the management have earned our appreciation and respect, but we've also got every right to go, that's a bit shit, because there was head loss there was a lack of responsibility, there was a total lack of leadership and organisation and structure, just the basics, man, the absolute basics. Like, this is one of those things where, look, I don't think the infighting between people helps, and I've already seen people who are more negative, people who are more positive, call each other out. This doesn't make any difference. We're all witnessing the same football, and some of you think it's better than it is, and others don't. But it's one of those things, mate, where I think you're right to say that the two things can be true at once. We can trust Pep and respect the players. Well, that's the same thing. One thing, but also feel that's a shambles. And we can't deny the run of form. We also can't deny that we've been getting away with it. We have been getting away with it for a while now. So it's one of those things where the form is bad. The form is bad. It is poor. We have to be honest. We have to just call it as what it is. It's poor. It's poor, and there are real gaping issues currently. And my biggest issue right now, I would say, like, by the way, Brian also with the super chat says, I don't see Pep staying. Not for tonight. No ideas. It's a controversial take from Brian there. Do you guys agree? Let me know. Thank you for the super chat, mate. Massively appreciated. I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see. Look, what I will say is, like, football can change very quickly. You can have one big win and things can change, you know. And I'm not stupid enough to just write everything off that quickly, because I think it'd be stupid, because City are a different beast, and when everyone's back, blah 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 blah, blah, etc., things can change. But yeah, I don't know, man. It doesn't feel good right now. It looks bleak. And the thing is, I was tempted to just I was going to do a video after the Bournemouth game, but I've been a bit ill recently. I've been struggling with a bit of a sinus infection, so I've not had the energy to go. And I want to sort of do a video where I talk about all the problems. Just get a bit of paper out, man, and just write them down on a piece of paper and go through them all one by one and see if we can fix them. A sort of real post-mortem, and it feels more relevant now than it did after the Bournemouth game, if we're being honest. And I'm going to try and maybe bring it on screen. Maybe I'll try and bring a Word document on screen or something like that, where we can just discuss it. Maybe I'll write it in a tweet over here. I'll write it on a tweet. You know, it's one of those things where the best way to probably do it is visibly on screen. I'll go over here, and if I think about the problems right now, the issues are, I would say, injuries, obviously, you know, injuries, obviously, that's clearly an issue. And then I would say a lack of physicality, stroke older squad. I think that's clearly an issue. No suitable replacement, no top level replacement. Wait, I can say no backup for Haaland, full stop. Haaland, full stop. That's an issue, you would argue. Full stop. There's nothing. Debatable backups for Rodri. I mean, we have him, but are they good? Well, no recognised six, which is an issue. We've got people doing a job there. What else is there? The issue there, you know, lack of goal threat without Haaland. Foden, maybe. That's it. What else is the issues right now? Injuries are not an excuse; they're a cause, Noah. So these aren't excuses; these are causes. This is what I'm talking about. So basically, I'm going to talk about no pacing, lack of physicality, zero pace defensively, no leadership currently. I would say without Diaz, Rodri, KDB on pitch, I would say they are issues. Would you guys probably agree with that? These are the things for me that I would say are issues. And then you get to the point, can we fix them? Can we change them? It's one of those things where injuries, obviously. Solution, I'll put time. But that takes time. Can we fix the lack of physicality of the squad? We need certain players fitter. It's hard to fix that. We need signings, returning players. No backup strikers. We need signings. We need a signing. Debatable. Once again, we need a signing for Rodri. The Rodri thing, because it's different. Like goal threat, signings, zero pace defensively. Signing, I mean, it's not looking good, is it? It's not looking good, basically. It's not looking good. This is the thing I'm on about here. So we've got a situation where the squad, if everyone is fit, looks good, but you can tell we're really leaning on the idea of zero injuries. You know, we really need. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a reasonably optimistic person. I don't think I'm a happy clapper. I don't think I ever have been. I don't think I'm a happy clapper, but I feel I just tend to look at the problems and weigh them up against the positives. I usually do that. So while there's always been maybe 5-10% of issues, I go, is it 90-95% positive? Sure. Then I'm in the happy camp. That's where I tend to view it. I look at the balance of probability and all that kind of stuff. You know, do you know what I mean by that? I tend to not moan if I'm not a happy clapper, mate. I am not a happy clapper. Trust me. I just watched our team win 4 in a row, so I've been largely going, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that's a happy clapper. I think that's fair enough. So it's one of those things I don't think that's fair to call me a happy clapper, because I've always called bad performances out and I always have done. People who don't do that are, but I don't think I am. You disagree. But anyway, I try and consider the balance of probability, and I try and consider Doctor Strange style, if there are reasonable excuses for why currently things are. I must admit, I did say at some point that I didn't feel the summer was good enough, and I did say that I felt that the lack of a DM and backup striker wasn't good enough. I said we might get away with it, and there are options, but if we get any injuries, and I've got the tweets to prove it, we'll be fucked come round November. And guess what? Around November, December, as always, the injuries have piled up, and we are absolutely fucked. So I deny the idea of happy clapper. I'm not a doom and gloomer, but I consider myself a realist, and largely I've looked at where City are, and I think City have been in a good position. We've been winning trophies, we've been fine. I have said, and you can call me if you want to, but I pointed out that I didn't think Núñez was a good enough central midfielder. I'm still getting criticism for that. I still stand by that. I'm sorry, he isn't. I said Calvin Phillips was done, and I felt like these weren't good enough signings. And I'm sorry, but I did say these things. And the reason I pointed these things out is because I saw, in my opinion, a lower drop-off in quality from the levels of David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Yaya Toure, Fernandinho, Rodri, Bernardo Silva in the central, Gundogan. These are the levels. This is what I've been saying. I felt like we've been dropping off a little bit in the levels, and I did, and you can remember I moaned about letting Cole Palmer go. I did, and I'm not trying to say I told you. I'm trying to say this idea that I just defend everything is just not true. It's not true. I've always pointed out these things. Núñez is a totally fine left winger. He is, but he was meant to be a midfielder, and he's just not good enough as a central midfielder. I'm sorry, he isn't. He's not the level. He's a perfectly fine midfielder. He is. He's a perfectly fine midfielder, but he's not genius levels, and this is the levels that we need. And I've been saying that. I said Paul Palmer shouldn't have gone. I was even a little bit frustrated that we never gave the Lackmore a chance when he was younger. I've definitely criticised the midfield signings. We need a rebuild. And if I'm being honest, I feel like there's a few things I've called out as well. So it's one of those things where I've said, okay, we're getting away with it. Fair enough, we'll get away with it. And maybe Pep thinks we can fix it. I've always said those things, and I'll trust him as it is. But I've definitely always said there are problems there. And now, unfortunately, the chickens are coming home to roost, and we're seeing it. So a couple more super chats before I crack on. Thank you so much for the super chats. Nicholas says, Pep has to make a decision on his contract. This is a really good point, actually. This is a really good point. I agree with this. I actually think it's getting borderline. I love Pep, but I think it's getting borderline unfair. I actually agree with that. There has to be. Uncertainty breeds uncertainty. And if you don't know what you're playing for, you don't know who you're playing for, you don't know why you're playing. And that might seem dramatic, but if you put even 1% of doubt in a player's head, and this is a tiny issue compared to the bigger picture, I agree. But it is an issue. And I absolutely agree with Nicholas on that, by the way. Nicholas absolutely has made a point there. He has to make a point. So someone said, I'll continue to glaze Núñez. Are you kidding me, mate? Like, someone's accusing me of glazing Núñez. Are you serious here? Because people in the chat tell him how me of all people about Núñez. Apparently, I'm his biggest hater. What the fuck, man? People just say anything, don't they? They really do just say anything. But anyway, like, this is how it feels. This is how it feels right now. And I think this is a very good point. Some more super chats here. I've got a feeling one of them is quite explosive. Looking at the comments, Trey said, "Sometimes I don't want to react because it's still a lot of the season left. But if we continue with this bad form from multiple players and injury-prone players stay out, the transitional period is on. Absolutely bang on from Trey. I'm always wary about overreacting, but I absolutely agree with this. You know, like, we never know. It's a snapshot of the season, but it can make us look very stupid in months from now. But we have to be honest. We have to be honest about where we're at right now, and we have to be honest that there's an issue here. This isn't a couple of awkward defeats. There's real gaping problems. I wouldn't mind if, like, the football was a bit poor and we just conceded the odd half chance, but we were still dominating. We are cut up too often, and the problem is, it feels like there's a formula to play against Man City now. That usually wasn't the case, even when we were playing a bit poor. Now it feels like it's actually quite easy to play against us if you're quite a structured side. And I look at the coming fixtures, Brighton away, Spurs, and like, oof, it doesn't look good. We've got Liverpool coming up reasonably soon. This is the issue. It's more than just a snapshot of time, I would argue. It feels like there currently is a way to play against City, and there's no answer. Or no, it feels like, and of course it's not that simple. I'm sure Guardiola's working on it. It feels like right now there's no answer, and it feels like there's no attempt at a solution. There will be. I'm not an idiot. Pep's not an idiot. He understands. Things have to change, but we're not seeing it. And maybe it's one of those things where, you know, it could be that there's no solution. Guardiola's tried things to trade, and it's just more embarrassing. I don't know. But what I do right now is that I feel crap actually. I'm not that well at the moment. I feel as sick as that performance. What I do know right now is that we're at a sort of crossroads in this season where not crossroads, but we're at a point where it could go bad if we're not really careful. It could run away from us and it could slide poor. And what I've got to give these players credit, by the way. They are making a brilliant job. City PR on Rodri is wonderful. They're showing just how good Rodri is. They really fucking are, man, because we look abysmal. Noah's not happy. I'll give everyone's comment a go. Noah, thanks for the super chat. Everyone, thanks for the super chat. It is appreciated. Noah said Pep needs to go. I've had enough. We have been awful. We have no penetration. Fruit doesn't stay fresh forever. Pep is rotten now. Big up, bro. Big up, but bro. Noah, I don't think he needs to go, mate. The reason I would say that is we don't know just how much Guardiola is responsible for the current state of the squad. I think Pep is making some mistakes right now, possibly, arguably, but I don't see the full picture, and I would never judge Guardiola off a spell of a few weeks when we haven't got a lot of our senior key players. I don't think there's many managers in football that could deal with the injury crisis that City currently have, especially players so pivotal, and it could be that Pep is rotten. Rotten is a strong word, my friend. I think that's very harsh to say. I think Pep right now might be leaning on experience, maybe a bit too much, but look, what is the alternative? I want to see Jacob Wright and McAtee get a goal, but I'm aware, even saying that out loud, that is also a little bit crazy. Leaning on Jacob Wright and McAtee in a title race, we do have standards here. I want to see it happen, but I'm aware it could easily be a very stupid idea. So it's all about perspective. It's all about, balance and all that kind of stuff. So we can go on about this stuff, but we also can't ignore. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stick the knife in and twist it while there are very obvious extraneous variables, like there really are. There are very obvious issues that you could point to as an excuse, and I get that. I think we could do things better, but I can't sit here and say this is the whole picture. We've got all these great players and we're still having an absolute stinker. And the matter of fact is, it isn't. It could be that they haven't signed the players Guardiola wants. I don't know why. I do wonder. I look at the squad building over the past few years, bottom of the net spend table, and I'm thinking, is this really Guardiola's choice? Are you telling me Guardiola wouldn't have wanted Bruno Guimaraes in? He wanted Paqueta, crying out loud. Are you telling me that Guardiola didn't want players in? I just don't sure I agree with that. So that's what I would say, mate. As much as you're entitled to opinion, I don't know about that right now. But I saw someone say sign Pogba, mate. Come on, man. Come on. Get it great. Really? The guys that play football for 2 years? Anyway, famously lethargic Pogba. Sislam with a super chat. Thank you so much, mate. That's very, very kind. Mate, other channels overreacts, not you. Enjoy your videos. It's just a rough patch we'll pull through. I hope so, mate. I hope so. Thank you very much. I don't really see the benefit of ranting and calling everyone shite. I think we've got a collection of players who are very talented, but I think currently we've been left with the players that don't take the game by the scruff of the neck. And I think they're also very tired, and I think they're making some poor decisions. I think they're playing badly, but I'm not going to pretend every player is shit, because I don't see the point in that. It's just categorically not true. And I know I could look very stupid in 2 months from now when I'm sat here and some of the players are back and they're all just out there balling and being brilliant. But thank you very much for me. I try and be reasonable. I try and be not too emotional, while calling it as it is. This video could age badly. We could look brilliant, and it was humiliation tonight. Are the squad an embarrassment? No. Was the performance embarrassing? Yes. That's the thing, is people they go into broad strokes. Like, an individual night can be embarrassing, doesn't mean the squad are. Look, I fucking made mistakes. You made mistakes at work. We all have. Every single person does. I look back at my videos a year and a half ago, actually, when my son was born. I was a moody, miserable mess because I had no sleep and I was tired and I was doing stupid things and doing bad content and blah, blah, blah. And that's a weird comparison to make, but what I'm saying is we all have circumstances where we're not at our very best. And I would like to think people wouldn't just judge me as a person based off a few weeks of intense stress. And City currently are going through that as well. Doesn't mean it's excusable, but it does mean there's a reason. And that's all I will say. And until you know the bigger picture, that's what I want to say. I will give them time, but I will also say we have to pay attention to this. We have to pay attention. Nicholas, I'm sort of on you, the super chat there. Thank you very much, Salam, by the way. I really appreciate you, mate. Nicholas says, is Nico Riley not good enough? Why not try him? I really want Nico Riley in the team. I think he's raw, but I think he's a real 6'4", physical, aggressive, the energy of youth. I want to try it, man. I really do. It's one of those things. Tosco's never made mistakes like. It's one of those things where I do feel like now is the time. I would argue for fuck it, try it. But you could. the thing is, I can sit there and say that. It's very easy to sit here like a football manager, fucking video game player, and turn around and go, "Oh, you should just do this, Pep." But you look. Simpson Pusey tonight played, and I actually think Akanji let him down a little bit, but he'll be feeling like shit right now. You can turn around and say, like, you can throw in all these players. You can turn around and say, like, you throw these kids in, but it's one of those things where they can be humbled and they can be embarrassed, and it can be just as bad for him as it is. It's very easy to say throw Nico O'Reilly and all that kind of stuff, but if City lose 4-1 tonight again, even without the senior players, everyone turns around and goes, Nico O'Reilly and James McAtee are just not good enough. Bin them. Fact. Would that be the conclusion? Chat, let me know. If Nico O'Reilly and McAtee played in midfield tonight and Jacob Wright, and we got battered 4-1, what would everyone say? Not everyone, but what would large people say? They would say they are not good enough. They are not level. You've got to understand this is the other side of it. And it might not be true, but that is where we're at. That's where we're at. So you can turn around and say it, but I understand the idea. I want to see him play, but I'm absolutely aware at the same time it could also be the making of him. It could also be the end of them. So that's where I'm at. I get it. I want to see him try, but we'll see. Thank you so much for the super chats, by the way. KP said, we're being haunted for our poor transfer decisions, both in and out of the last 2-3 seasons. Pep's insistence on having a small team, big upstate. I'm coming around to it. I do actually think the more... I've tried to defend it and all that kind of stuff and feel like we've got away with it, but I do feel the more it unravels, and I've been a little bit critical about some decisions, the more I feel... Look, I wanted us to splash on Bruno G. I think just pay the fucking money, man. I really wanted Bruno Gyokeres. I thought he was brilliant. And I wanted him. So I feel like the sort of... I wonder if something's going on there with the charges. I do wonder. If it's an optics thing. I do wonder if it's a decision for the top, for profitability. I don't know. But what it is, City definitely pulled back on the spending. And we definitely can afford it, surely. Ben, moody, miserable mess is my default. Absolutely, mate. It's hard. But yeah, I do wonder what's going on there. I don't think Pep insists on having less quality players. Small team, maybe, but less quality players, KP Masters? I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that, mate, but we'll see. Thank you so much to the... where's it gone? I saw a quote asking if I'm okay. J887 Lee, so you okay, Steve? Yeah, look, to be honest, mate, it's entirely down to a lack of sleep. I also have bad sinuses, mate. I've got bad sinuses, so I get a cold, and unless I get a lot of sleep, I just don't seem to get over it. And I've got a bit of a sinus infection. I can't shake it. So if I don't sleep, I get my sinuses just go. They do. I feel like I'm burning the candle at both ends, and the most tiring thing in the world has been a sun. So I'm okay. I feel physically fine, other than my nose just wants to run all the time. So thank you very much for asking, mate. It's really appreciated. It's just I'm absolutely beyond exhausted, and I need to start going to bed early. But I don't, because guess what? I sit up on my laptop and try and do stupid things about football, and I need to go to sleep and get into bed. And I'm a light sleeper. My son ends up in our bed, and there we go. So... but I'm all right. Thank you very much for asking. I'm not worried about it. I've always been prone to wellness if I don't get enough sleep. But it's just that parent life. Another super chat. Where's it gone? Luke says, "Why are we so on with possession?" I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean, Luke? Sorry, mate. Open. Do you mean open possession or out? I'm not fully sure what you mean, mate. But either way, the weather change causes silence. Probably is that, actually, mate. You're probably actually right. The weather change, yeah, it's gone really cold, hasn't it? That's a good point. Maybe you need a humidifier. Good shout, Sweet Palmy. I'll mention that to the wife, actually. What do you mean, Luke, by that? Sorry, pal. Does anyone know what Luke means? Taylor says we have 0 wingers and bringing in 30-year-old middies. I've never heard the word middies. Is not a solution. Performances have been awful and transfers have been worse. Kovacic and Phillips in Palmer and Alvarez out. Quality doesn't match. Look, I had no issue with Alvarez going, but we absolutely had to sign a backup. I'm sorry. I absolutely agree with that. If you let Alvarez go, that is goals. I 1,000,000,000% always felt we had to sign a striker. Surely. I agree, mate. I absolutely agree. And I wasn't against Gundogan coming in as a backup. I wasn't, in theory. He was never my first choice. But as coming back, to play 20 games, 25 games, to start every week and be this... No. I was never against that. So people can rewrite narratives if they want to. But I was never for that. Kovacic, I think, once again, I thought Kovacic was fine. But if he was a backup... apparently we agreed to sign Kovacic as before Gundogan even left. So I was fine with that. And then he'd signed a top quality midfielder. We wanted Bellingham, we wanted Rice, even Paqueta would have been better. Bruno Guimaraes. We wanted players of a high quality. So yeah, it's one of those things where like I didn't mind Kovacic as such as a backup, as a backup 8. But he's become the main guy, and he's a 7 out of 10 player, Kovacic. But the problem is, I think he is a 7 out of 10. But I don't think he's a bad player. But I don't think he's been asked currently to do number 6 role, and Kovacic has no defensive nous. He doesn't. He's totally fine in a team that's foot in form and slotting into the team. And I think he's okay. I actually think he can play pretty well sometimes. But as a 6, he doesn't know how to do it. He gets beat so easy. He gets turned so easily, and he can't get back. He's not the slowest guy in the world, Kovacic. But he's slow and defensively thinking, and he gets caught wrong. His body shape is wrong, so he can't catch up because he doesn't know how to defend. So yeah, the quality. Look, we've been awful, and I actually agree. Shane saying, "Do you think that Xabi Alonso will come next season?" I don't know, mate. I would love it, but I think he's going to Real Madrid almost nailed on. Wirtz and Alonso at Real Madrid. Put your money on that, mate. Thanks for the super chat again. Luke said, "Sorry, mate. I mean, why are we so obsessed with possession?" Oh, come on. What I would say there, Luke, is thank you for the super chat, but that's very much it's Pep's principles. And the simple reason about possession is that you control the ball, you control the game. But the problem is you've got to be better with it, mate. It's one of those things where we can't sit here and moan about possession, I would argue, given it's won 4 in a row and the greatest successful area in the history of English football. And that's a fact. No team has ever been as dominant as Guardiola's team has been over the last 9 years. That's an absolute fact. So I don't think the theory is right. I think the quality right now is absolutely in the bin, and we need to be so much better than this. So the squad, I think, is just old. I think we're at an end of an era. And I think, if I'm being honest, I really wanted to see 2 years ago when we signed Phillips and we had De Bruyne injury starting to pick up and Gundogan a bit older. When Gundogan, like a year and a half ago, Gundogan, he should have been big money. Should have been spent on a player. He should have been big money on a young backup. Romeo Lavia, God, I wanted him to stay. I wanted him to stay as well. I wanted him to play. You know, Romeo Lavia was more than good enough to be useful. But I wanted, so many things to happen. But we've not changed the. It's funny someone saying United in the chat as if United just beat us. Like, look, if I was a United fan, I'd be excited about Amorim as well. But this City side ain't the team you think it is right now. Beating this City side comfortably is not a coup, man. It absolutely isn't, because right now we are a disgusting mess. I get that, Alman Khan, but I don't know how you do that, mate. It's easier to say invite pressure and attack on the counter, but they just go, "Okay, mate, you have the ball," and they let us sit back. So I don't know how you do that. You can't say, "Attack us, please," so we can counter. They just don't do it, mate. They just don't do it. They just stay back. So that's the issue you've got there. So they want a point of City, most teams. So they'll be fine. You said you keep the ball in your own defensive half. We'll sit back on everyone. I know what you're getting at, mate, but it's easier said than done, I would argue. We're in... Yeah, the community shield curse is real. Morgan Rogers, Flacco... Morgan Rogers is an interesting one because actually, if I'm being honest, mate, Morgan Rogers did not light up the EDS. He didn't. He genuinely didn't. Some players need to go away to make it. Palmer, I would argue, did. Delap did light it up, and Delap did well when he came on. Palmer did, I would argue, did well when he came on, and I saw that. Morgan Rogers didn't. Morgan Rogers looked good, but then he just went up another level when he played football. That can happen. I don't mind that. It looks great, but I think you'd have to be a fucking genius. Look at Morgan Rogers playing for the EDS and go, that guy is going to be a brilliant midfielder, because he just didn't look it. He looked very good, but he didn't look like he was going to go to the level where he is right now. So I'm going to go through the team today anyway. I've not even looked at the team. I'll go through it. It's one of those things where 3 losses in a row and things looking poor. Here we are with the lineup right now. Get the XG there. Yeah, there we go. 2.86, 2.21. We did create chances. We should have scored goals, but that's another issue. Look, fundamentally, the forward line is misfiring. It's not taking its chances, and the defence is so open. That's a terrible combination. Defensively poor, and going forward we're wasteful. So go through that team. Akanji, look, Simpson Pusey tonight. He didn't have a great game, but I really do feel he was sort of hung out to dry by the senior players around him. Akanji in particular, I love Akanji, but mate, he had a stinker tonight, Akanji. He really did have a stinker. His positional sense was so bad, man. And I think he probably was injured. I think Joel's right. I think he is injured. He doesn't look fit at all. Vardiol looks sloppy and tired tonight. And when you're tired, you do make mistakes. But Akanji, like he was caught. I don't know where he was, but he wasn't. He wasn't in Lisbon tonight. He really wasn't. His head was gone. And it can happen once again. You're not fit, you're tired, you make mistakes, your eyes off the ball. Rico Lewis is in a really poor run of form right now. I'm a big fan of Rico Lewis. I think at the start of the season, he made every decision right. He looked absolutely wonderful. He was... We definitely have lost 4 in a row, mate, many times. Under Pep, I don't know. But overall, absolutely. I've witnessed it, trust me. But Rico Lewis, he's not looking right. So many mistakes there. So many mistakes. Josko Vardiol, poor by his standards. Edison, whatever. Kovacic just cannot read a defensive. I thought JSP Simpson Pusey was okay. I thought he was okay. I think he had a couple of good moments, but he's just not. He's not. I don't think he's blamed for this. I thought Nunes, look, you guys know my view on Nunes. I think Nunes is a perfectly good player. I still maintain he's not Manchester City level, top level. I just don't think he is. And that's not a reaction tonight. I think he's a good winger, but I still feel he's in a nice, rich vein of form right now. But I'd be amazed if he's the starting winger or midfielder in a 4 in a row winning level quality side. I just don't believe he is. That is my overall opinion. He could be a perfectly fine backup player, but I still feel that way. And I am amazed that people still feel like he's going to be world class. I just don't think anyone thinks he's going to be world class. He had a good pass to Haaland, he did. But he's going to be world class? I'm not convinced, man. Like, that's the question I would ask. Is he going to be world class? If not, what are we doing here? And anyone who's going to play in our team should have the potential to be world class. That's what I would say. Bernardo Silva looks old right now. He looks like he needs others around him. Looks tired. Phil actually did all right. Nice goal. Some good link-up play. Some creative big chances. But he definitely drifts a little bit. Doku has the advantage of being a little bit younger. JCM. I think Doku. My feeling of Doku currently is like he's sort of. I'm not sure how much better Doku will get. I worry that Doku is the player that he is, and he always will be that player. He could get better. It's his second season. We'll see. Injury prone. That's my worry about Doku as well. That he's injury prone. I would say if Bob comes back, I think Bob and Savinho are my wingers. I don't care who's on the left, who's on the right. Let them rotate, but they are my wingers because I think they're better. I think they're more smart and more complete footballers. I think Savinho's going to be great. I've got no doubts about him. Young, not he's gay today, but I think he's great. And Haaland's Haaland, you know. Kovacic, just De Bruyne, good to see him back on the pitch. Yeah, not much there to talk about. We're not looking good right now. I am not going to throw the baby out of the bathwater. I don't think that's a good idea. But we have to acknowledge right now we're in a bad reign of form. Elman Khan says for last year, there's another super chat I think I saw. Where's it gone? Thank you so much, by the way. Joseph says, so poor in the transition, can't make the right pass. We slowed down the play and let them get back in shape. Since we drew to Arsenal, we have been poor. I'm not going to argue there, mate. I mean, poor in transition going both ways. A lot of that comes down to, I would argue, Rodri, De Bruyne, the higher quality players there. I think tiredness comes into it a little bit. I think a lot of these players, if you ask them, I don't think they're anywhere near their best, by the way. I think they're exhausted. I think they're overtired. But I do think then, I don't think you can be angry at the players. I think you can have your right to be sort of frustrated at the squad building and arguably the depth of the squad, because even though injuries can happen to anyone, it is weak. It is too weak, I would argue. And I think the issues, and everyone has the right to sit back and wait. This is where we're at right now. Hiram Clayton with the super chat, but no comment attached to it, mate. But thank you so much. Where are we at? So, is there a super chat to that attached? Let me just find out. Where are we at? Oh, Hiram said, emotions are raw, but we haven't lost anything yet. Pepsi is what we see, and we will adjust. I hope so, mate. I hope so, because right now it feels poor. It does. Anyway, guys, I've run out of energy now. I'll go through this again tomorrow. Thank you for all the support. Be massively appreciated. Not a good spot right now for City. Let's see how we react in a bit. Bye-bye.